Hello. In this video, we'll be looking at HBase and the way it's supported in the Syncfusion Big Data Platform. So HBase is a distributed database that can scale to really millions of columns and billions of rows across a cluster of machines. It's typically run on top of HDFS and the Hadoop platform. So we have complete support for HBase as part of the Syncfusion Big Data Platform. So the first thing that we have to make sure before we start working with HBase is to take a look at the service manager on your local system and then make sure that HBase is running. Now, if you're working with a production cluster, then you can choose to have HBase always running. In this case, because of memory constraints, we typically leave it off as an optional service. So you just have to click on the start button and give it a few seconds to start up. So now that HBase is running, we can launch Studio. I already have Studio running in the background, so I'm just going to switch to it and switch to the HBase tab. So I have this set of commands that I'm going to run one by one and kind of walk through them. The first thing is I already have a customer stable. I'm going to go ahead and actually drop that basically. So this is just going to issue command to disable and then to drop it. So that command completed successfully. Now I'm just going to create a new HBase table. It's named customers, and then the second argument, info, is the column family. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details on column families. There's plenty of documentation online on column families in HBase and how they fit into the overall architecture of HBase. But column families are, you can think of them as a grouping for columns basically, and then you do a further index into an actual name. Column families need to be declared beforehand. The secondary lookup key that's after the column family doesn't have to be declared before. It can be sparse, and you can have different values for different rows in the database. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually now create the table. So I have a customers table with the info column family. Now I'm just going to insert a bunch of customers now, 3 of them to be precise, and I have several sub values in the column family info. So I have company name, contact name, and so forth for each of them. So you will see 3 of them right here. So I'm just going to select all of them and then go ahead and actually submit the query. Let it run one by one. So it's doing the inserts for me. And I have all the inserts and everything is in the system. Now I'm just going to retrieve just this one customer by row ID. So when I issue this call, it will give me all the information for this customer available in the column family info. There's only one column family, as you will recollect. And it'll give all the sub keys for this one customer. So we'll go ahead and actually run that and then observe the output. So you will see that it retrieved all the information that was available under the single column family info that was available under this customer row ID, basically, ALFKI. So that's just a quick interaction with HBase. Now I'm going to switch to Hive and also show you how you can query HBase tables from Hive. So in this case, I'm just declaring an external table to Hive, and I'm telling Hive that the table data lives on HBase, and I'm mapping it to this table named customers that we just created. So once this is done, I'm just going to run that query and then let it come back and say that's okay. And then I'm going to do a select query on top of this table that I declared to HBase. So the declared to Hive. So remember that the table actually data lives on HBase. Hive is simply provided the metadata to create an external table, and then I'm able to issue SQL-like queries from within the Hive ecosystem. So I'm going to run this query, and it will go ahead and actually run that for me and then bring back the data, so you can observe the data right here. So that's interacting with the HBase from within the Hive environment. So the third aspect that I want to show is that the Syncfusion Big Data Platform also has rich support for interaction with HBase from the .NET platform. So I am pointing to samples here under HBase, C# samples. We also have Java samples that are available right here. I'm just going to quickly show the C# samples. So here you can see that I have WPF, Windows Forms, and so forth. I'm just going to run the WPF samples and quickly walk through this. You'll be presented with a UI that has a list of samples, and you have 3 options for each sample. You can run the sample. It will compile the sample and run it. So that takes a few seconds. We don't ship pre-compiled binaries for the samples to keep the sizes down. You can just compile them and run them. Let me go ahead and actually run the sample first. So it takes a few seconds to come up. So I'm going to click on fetch, and you see that it goes and actually retrieves the data from the AdventureWorks database that we had on the system. So the actual code itself, let's look at this sample, and you will see that it imports a single namespace, Syncfusion.thrift HBase .base, and then the remaining code is very similar to what you would expect with, say, ADO.NET connection. So you have a HBase connection, you open it, and then you point it to a table and then provide some metadata on what you're looking for, and then you can go ahead and actually open it and then loop through it or data bind it, and all of that is supported out of the box. So that's a quick run through with getting started with HBase within the Syncfusion Big Data environment. As usual, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us through our support channel, direct track available from our website. Thank you for watching.